Hi and welcome to Spill the Tea with LLIB. I'm Cal.
And I'm Claire.
And together we founded the incredible platform that is Leading Ladies in Business, a platform that inspires and supports female business women across the globe. Hi and welcome to another episode of Spill the Tea with LLIB. Today we have got the gorgeous Margaret Bell with us, who is our gut health expert. It's lovely to have you with us, Margaret.
Lovely to be here.
So we're here today to talk all things women in business. So spill the tea so far on what the journey has been like for you as a woman in business.
Flipping heck.
I know. What a question to start with.
It's been, I'm not going to cliche, hopefully, but it has been a heck of a journey, I'd say. I mean, from the age of 14, from experiencing the likes of anorexia through binge eating in my 20s and then orthorexia in my 30s. Well, obviously at the time when I was through my 20s, 30s, I wasn't doing what I'm doing now. And I was in very much a male-dominated kind of environment. So to then switch from that, from the likes of a full-time job to have my own business, there was a heck of a lot to learn.
Yeah, I'm there with you on that one.
How long have you been on that journey for? So when did you decide to start your own business?
Let's just say life changes happened at 40. I was married at the time. 40 was the year we actually got divorced. I experienced depression through that. It was an amicable divorce. But I don't think anyone going through divorce doesn't experience some kind of loss.
And it's a really grieving process, isn't it?
Yeah. So I experienced depression through that and experienced a situation with food that I never had before, the likes of not feeling that I deserved to eat, not feeling that I even deserved to be here. That's how deep the depression got. And lost my director's job at the time. So it was all kind of all kind of caving in, unfortunately. So I did go and see a counsellor for around about 7 or 8 months, build myself back up. And it was at that stage that I just thought, I do not want to go back to where I was. I was working long days. Working long days, it hasn't stopped working long days.
No.
But the long days were like from 8 o'clock in the morning, probably through till around about midnight. Basically because it was the entertainment and events industry that I was in. So I didn't really want to go back to that at 40. Kind of drew on my experiences through the different disordered eating that I'd experienced and really wanted to do something around that. But also, which will be one of the answers to the next questions, I had been studying gut health for so many years. And I just thought, why aren't I doing anything with this? Why aren't I helping, one, ladies that have been through what I've been through or are going through what I have been through, and marrying this with the likes of gut health? Because if you do stress eat, comfort or whatever, guaranteed it's going to affect your gut health. So bring the two together. And that's when the journey of self-employment started to kick off.
So what made you so passionate about gut health? Where did that journey begin?
That started when I was about 15 and a half. My mum was diagnosed with lupus, which is an autoimmune condition. And that just affects the whole body. But I kind of cottoned on, even at that age, that it was autoimmune. So it must have been something to do with her immune system. And the doctor at the time that gave the news to my mum passed on very nice news that it can be hereditary and passed on through the female side of the family. So I just thought, yay.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. But it's normally passed on about 30s or 40s. So hopefully now I'm 48, I've missed that. But yeah, I just started to learn about the immune system, and we're talking, God, before the internet
before it was fashionable to be into gut health, and before we know what we know.
Before the internet as well.
I was going to say, did you have to visit many libraries?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
But even then, the libraries only had a few things. Yeah. And I can remember reading a book from the 1980s about the immune system. So it's just like, okay, this is where I'm starting from. And thank goodness the internet came in, because then I could start reading the likes of Harvard University studies and obviously different studies from different doctors to start building up my knowledge. My dad passed away in my mid-20s through cancer of the stomach. And I very much know that was probably brought on by stress, because he was working for the gas board in a high position for well over 20 years. And 3 years later, he passed away. So it was like, there's got to be some correlation there, which just reinforced me carrying on that learning.
Yeah. So it's a really personal journey then, isn't it? That study of gut health and the way it's impacted your family directly, and then leading to building a business so that other people don't have to. We're big believers that our darkest moments can become the springboards for our biggest successes. And it sounds like you've hugely built on that springboard and those dark moments, and used what's happened as a real positive going forward to impact many people. Yeah, it sounds incredible.
So what would you say the hardest challenge that you've had to overcome in business would be to date? And how did you get over that? How did you move through that, if you did? If not, we're here.
Challenges.
Daily challenges.
Every single flaming day. I'd probably say the most difficult one, and you might get me on this, when I have clients, especially when it's around about the likes of disordered eating, you can get I used to get very sucked in to what was going on with them.
Absolutely.
So when having the likes of one-to-one sessions with them, moving them from a place of disordered eating to what one of my programs is, food freedom, it's a very personal journey for them. And in turn, it can turn into a very personal journey for me. But to learn to actually step back from it and not take on all that energy was a very big lesson for me.
It's so hard to do. That is so hard in all industries of well-being, counselling, support. It's so hard not to take your client's journey and see it as your own when you've been you've been down a similar path. I've got clients, I remember clients a few years ago during COVID, and she lost her daughter and everything was fine, and I've never been through that. So I was great at counselling, and I said all the right things. I was there for her, I was guiding her. It was very much her journey until she said the date, and the date was my son's birthday that she passed. And automatically I was like, mum. Like switched from Claire the counsellor to mum. And I was just like, but I identified that. And I think that's one of the best things about having a community and having supervision and having that person to go to and saying, look, I've not buried this. I've not tried to make it my own. I've identified it. And I think you've had to be really careful with that, because it would be too easy to slip back in here and all of the things that was once you and the things that you did. Yeah.
Not just that as well, it's the energy that it takes out of you, because once you've had a session like that, I'm like, so it's making sure I'm not spending all that energy and understanding that, yes, my energy is my own.
So when you talk about disordered eating patterns and things, what does that look like, just for anybody who might be out there listening and want some further advice on that? What does disordered eating look like?
Disordered eating it can be on the way to eating disorders, definitely. So I do work with the likes of teenagers who are moving towards the likes of eating disorders. But disordered eating can be the likes of stress eating, which, crikey, I don't think I've met a person that doesn't.
No.
So it is literally, it is turning to food as your crutch, your kind of go-to for when you are stressed, rather than looking at what emotions that stress has brought up and why, and
looking
it's never
behind a carrot stick that you turn to in that moment, is it? Or, a bit of hummus, or, why is that?
Well,
what is it about a big bar of Galaxy that just goes,
or crisp Doritos for me?
Well, there's a good reason, and this is where the little bit of gut health comes in as well. when we're stressed, more women turn to stress eating than more than anything else. Men, not so. Women, definitely more
Is
so.
that because women are more stressed than men?
Exactly.
Because we take on a lot more than men, maybe.
We definitely do.
Yeah.
That's one thing.
Yeah.
But our frontal cortex, when we're stressed, can't actually take on as much. It's gone through my head. Come on, brain.
It'll come back.
Yeah, it'll come back. Rachel missed out one of her top 3 as
she
well on
did.
her podcast, and then at the end
came
of
back.
it remembered
Yeah.
it. So yeah, we're all there.
We're natural. We're human.
Exactly. So that's why I'm stressed, because my frontal cortex just can't. When you're actually under a stress situation, your frontal cortex can't take on as much information. But also, it means that the likes of cravings happen and your willpower is down. So that's a frontal cortex. But when you're stressed, obviously cortisol is running through your system as well. And when quite a lot of cortisol is running through your system over a constant period of time, that can actually affect the bacteria in your gut. And it affects it in such a way that your gut, the bacteria in there, actually prefers the likes of sugary and high carb food.
Wow.
So we're not, goodness me. It's all our gut's fault.
Love to say that, but you do have some. You do have some say.
Yeah.
So there is the likes of stress eating, comfort eating, and obviously the likes of orthorexia as well, which isn't quite seen as an eating disorder at the moment. But that is basically when you are clean eating, but it is more of a control mechanism for you. Say, for instance, you were wanting to go out to a restaurant. That isn't something that someone with orthorexia is comfortable with doing. And that fact that it's more of a control thing rather than wanting to just clean eat.
Yeah. Yeah, and being so mindful of everything that goes into your mouth that you're constantly thinking about it all of the time.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've all had spells like that, though. I think especially when you're on certain weight loss programs or that are great, you know, they're meant to be great and, you know, you feel better and you actually get addicted to the feeling of, you know, having that control over it. And then you feel so guilty when you turn to anything else. I remember, Cal, when we spoke about pure orange juice, and you're like, no, I can't have any pure orange. I'd made us lovely breakfast, you know, yogurt and fruit and a glass of pure orange, and you were just like, no pure orange.
Yeah.
Straight
So many
away.
sins on Slim and World. Like, God, I'm not going to spend them on that when I can spend it on my bar of Galaxy for a bit of comfort eating later on. Come on.
I know there's so much information out there.
Yeah. And
diets
misinformation. It's really difficult to filter through, isn't it?
I think that's
can
really
imagine.
important to know. There is so much information out there that's not true and people are just trying to make money from. Like, it's the
Exactly.
fear.
Yeah.
Once you've scared somebody into believing, and I'm not for this for marketing, don't scare someone into buying your product and service. Like, don't put the fear, just guide them into why your product and service is going to help them improve their life.
Yeah.
Don't tell them what they're doing wrong all the time because, again, you feel guilty. You feel like you are doing everything wrong. We're too quick at the end of the day to say or to see what we got wrong that day over what we actually did right. So looking on social media and being told that you're doing this wrong in business and you're doing this wrong in health and, you know, it's just, it can become a lot.
Yeah, it can be, and it's just bombarding. So I literally, and I'll try not to swear, but it might be fitting. I cut through the crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite literally.
Quite literally.
Yeah. No, love
So
that.
in terms then of the top 3 tips for looking after our gut, what would they be?
First thing I always recommend is to start resting your gut. And what I mean by that is stress is the number one thing that affects your gut health. Everyone think you need to jump straight to food. It's a waste of time because if you've got a stressed gut, then whatever food you put in there isn't going to work for you. So first of all, really start engaging with what things can help you rest, relax, and digest. Rest and digest is the key thing, to be quite honest with you. We all need to be in that state of mind when you're actually eating, because if you eat under stress, then you cannot physically digest food.
Wow.
And if
I feel
you're
like I've got 7 weeks worth of food in my stomach currently at the moment.
all gurgling away.
Yeah, I need to rest for
Rest and
4
digest.
weeks for a bit of digestion to go on.
Love that. Rest
But
and
there's
digest.
one real question you can just ask yourself before you start eating: am I going to be eating under stress? And then just assess where you are. And if you are, I honestly just do a simple breathing exercise for a couple of minutes where you're breathing into your stomach, not here, because if you're breathing into your chest, that alone can start the stress again. So
Yeah.
breathing into your stomach, then you actually start bringing down your stress.
Perfect. Wow.
Amazing. So who's made the most influence in your life then? So life, business, both. Who's been the biggest influence to you?
Has to be my mum.
Oh.
She's no longer with us. She'll be up there.
She'll be so proud.
Yeah, but she used to be my biggest influence from the start, and she's still my biggest influence now. She was always the person that held the family together.
Yeah.
And just as well, she actually passed away on May 25th, 2020, so that was about 3 years ago. And she was my catalyst to really push forward with my business and write my book. And I can just hear her in the back of my head with a very broad Geordie accent. Come on, love, keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. So it's lovely. So what goals are you pursuing right now? What goals is your mum telling you to go on, girl, go for them
Was that your
right
Geordie
now?
accent? Go on, girl.
No, I can do a much better Geordie accent than that. No, I'm not going to do it right now.
How are you,
Save
lass?
that for another podcast. I have to do a little
Accent.
practicing in private
Okay.
first, and then I'll be all...
Do you want a Geordie accent?
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe. And then I'll be ready to go. Thank you, Claire.
Sorry, Cal.
So yeah, in your best Geordie, what goals are you pursuing right now in your business or personal life that you can share with us today?
So I'll start within business. I am very much going down a route of understanding more about women's hormones of every age. So not just of perimenopause, menopause, but of teenagers as well. And the fact what those hormones can actually do at different times of the month, how we can actually work with the hormones rather than against, because we all know that time of the month,
Yeah.
but do we know exactly what goes on the rest of the time?
Yeah.
And how that can benefit you at work, but also benefit you at school,
Yeah.
but also can give you better communication at work and at home. Because if you've got the likes of a teenage daughter and you're going through, wouldn't it be better to understand where she is
Yeah.
in the cycle and when you can actually have the difficult conversations with her and when she is best to actually clear a room?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Margaret, I feel like you'll become my new best friend. My daughter is 12, very hormonal, which doesn't help when you're also hormonal at the same time, does it? So it's like a bad clash of hormones in the house.
Yeah, exactly. But what my big aim is to, obviously, I have started going into business with this kind of knowledge so that you can start working with communication within the business. The next step is really getting it into schools, because the amount of things that I've read and understood is that girls are being shamed when it comes to their periods, and that shouldn't be the case. They should have as much information as they possibly can.
Yeah, and I'd listened to a really interesting podcast, which I got very excited about, didn't I, in the car with you the other day, that was talking all around that same issue. And the podcast is 28 days-ish. And they were talking about exercise during different phases of the cycle and what we know now about exercise and women's health. And I am approaching 40 this year, so it's something that has become very prevalent in my life. And just that understanding of it more. And there's so much that we're not taught, and there's so much that we don't know about our bodies that hugely impacts how we live. I mean, just for example, me and Claire have, 1 week of the month every single month where both of us want to give up everything. We're like, stop the world. I want to get off. I'm not in business any longer. I'm not doing this. And then we're like,
and it's usually the same week because we're both together so much.
Maybe it's hormones.
Like our cycle is like identical almost.
Yeah. And then we have a week where we're like, oh my goodness, we can do this. This is incredible. Like, a week where you're so productive, and then a week where, but if we were more mindful of that, and if we knew when that was coming, especially for our younger generations as well.
I think Alan's got onto it. I think my husband's got onto it. Yeah, he works shifts and sometimes he's away. He just doesn't. Yeah, I think he just goes to his boss and says, "Oh, can I have this? Can you just like make me shift a little bit different?"
No, but if we know, like for instance, round about the week before, that is when we need to hibernate. That is what I've kind of called them different phases, different things. That's your poison ivy phase, like your feral cat phase.
Yeah. Feral cat. We don't say feral on this show. Thank you.
Only I say feral on the show.
This one's called feral on the show. It is banned. It is a no word.
Your poison ivy phase.
There you go.
But if you know that kind of thing, you know when it's best to actually do your admin stuff, and when it's best to do, go for new projects, then it makes it so much easier.
Yeah. It sounds like an exciting new phase of the business as well.
Definitely.
And also linked.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a closing tradition on this podcast. It's an incredible tradition. I don't know if you've seen it on the previous podcast. But I think we're quite balanced now, aren't we? We're quite balanced.
Oh no, I think I'm still in the lead.
I'll get the right points. So we ask our guests what their preference is when making a cup of tea. So how would you make the perfect cup of tea, Margaret?
I put the tea bag in, swish it around a couple of times, squish it, take it out, add the milk.
Yeah,
I knew you were one of them. I just knew it.
However, I'm sorry. However, I've recently found dirty chai tea, which hopefully I've got it right, where you have, the chai tea bag.
Oh, yeah.
Which is like a herbal tea bag, and you add milk to it.
Yeah.
Is it dirty because of that though? That is the question. Is that why they called it a dirty chai? For all the dirty people out there that like to add their milk at the same time as the tea bag.
There you go.
That could be the reason why. I thought it was the milk
no,
itself.
Margaret, it's not the reason why. Please don't encourage her. It's not.
But yeah, when you have that, I do keep the tea bag in.
You do.
Yeah. Well,
so we
if you like a dirty moment, that's fine, Margaret.
Yeah. So we both got a point there.
Ish. Yeah. Point and a half.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Half for the feral.
Every time we say feral, you gotta go beep. Okay, on the edit, beep. We beep out, naughty words. Perfect. Thank you so much, Margaret. That's so much information that we'll take away. And this is why we love this podcast so much, because every guest not only gives our viewers what they need to hear and to help support them in their life, but it's for me and you as well, isn't it? We get loads from it. So thank you so much for being a guest on the show.
And we'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Bye.